Okay, so I want to talk a second. We had a storm blow through yesterday with some pretty good winds, a little bit of rain, about 2 inches of rain. Um, there was some tornado activity too. Uh, I know of at least at least two tornado touchdowns. Um, not too far from me. I, it was kind of an unusual storm, being in that we had about 20 miles from my house. It peaked at about 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts. With some pretty good sustained 40-mile-an-hour winds. Around my house, it was about 60 to 65 wind gusts with 40 to 45 sustained there for a little while. But I bring that storm up because I want to talk about, and excuse any wind. It's still pretty windy today. I think it's supposed to be about 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts today too, so excuse the wind. But I want to talk about radio for somebody who is not licensed or has no license, has no desire to get a license or anything like that. And I know other people have talked about this, but I want to talk about it because yesterday it kind of brought home a good point, I think, in having at least something like this. Now, this is just a UV5R, and I brought this one out today because I know it's going to piss people off. And I have other radios, though. With that being said, before anybody says anything, they're waterproof and all that jazz, so I just brought this one just to show, because they're cheap, easy to get a hold of, and worth having in my opinion. I don't really have any complaints, but the entire time yesterday, there was a local net on the radio of guys that they basically go over the radio, have a network, and talk about what's going on weather-wise at their area at that time. And I was able to listen, I can program it in. It's no problem to do. I can just turn to their channel and listen to them. And it gave me a lot of information. It was just a way to gather information about, hey, some of these guys are, going to get this storm before me, so now I can hear what they're seeing and what kind of impact they're having from the storm, and I can prepare. And it was very beneficial to me because I was able to listen in, hey, power outages are starting to work this way. Fortunately, we didn't lose power, but it's starting to work this way. And if you've ever been around hurricanes, tornadoes, any kind of major natural weather, you know that there's a possibility of losing cell service. I've been through 2 hurricanes within the past 10 years where we have lost cell service for entire areas. And these still work though. And which is, those 2 incidents have prompted me to get further into this. Now, I have a GMRS license, so I can transmit on GMRS channels or frequencies. But I value this right, and I plan on getting my ham license and all that stuff too because I want the knowledge. But I have in this particular radio, I have every repeater, every Aries, all of that stuff programmed in here that's local to me, and I can listen in on every single one of them and get a lot of good information. Especially if the weather's being bad or something else is happening, I can get good information, and that is very important. You don't have to have a license to listen in. Most people know that. But a good example of something I was able to find out prior to me even seeing it on the news, there was a 18-wheeler that overturned on a bridge as the storm was moving through. As soon as they found out about it, they put it on here. They went over the net, broadcasted it, put information out there of, hey, these 18-wheelers have turned on such and such bridge. I'm not going to name the bridge, but it's overturned on the bridge. Just a heads up for you guys. I found that out way before it even went over on the news or anything like that. They were talking about, trees being down on such and such road, mile marker such and such, or that kind of thing. Or, this area is without power or this area is without power. They were broadcasting all that information, and I could listen in and gather all that information. And that info gathering is huge with this thing right here. I mean, even if you just want to listen into the NOAA channels, I mean, that's important too.
Saturday night, west winds 15 to 20 knots.
So just being able to listen in on NOAA channels is pretty important too. I was able to listen in on that all day long. So I think even if you don't want to get a license of any kind, I plan on it, but if you don't want to, having one of these in your pack or at home or in your vehicle, or having a couple of them, even if it's just a simple UV5R, man, it don't have to be the most durable radio in the world. But especially if it's just going to ride around in your car, or if it's just going to sit at the house in the charging cradle, and you're just going to use it when a severe thunderstorm rolls through, just in case you want to be aware of, say, a tornado or something. But if you go a step further and you program the repeaters that's in your area, you can find out a lot of good information. And you never know how that information is going to help you. Say if I was wanting to travel yesterday and I had to get out of the area I was in because, say, I don't know, the storm was getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and I had to evacuate. Whatever. Make up a scenario. Well, guess what? I listened in and found out that 18-wheeler was turned for turning on that bridge. I might not be able to go that way. Or when they were talking about that there was trees down on such and such road, well, now I know I don't need to take that road. I don't need to take that bridge. I need to find an alternate route. So that's pretty important information. I'm plan on getting my ham license, just so I can further my knowledge and practice in this. It's become a very big interest of me here lately, so that's why I brought this up. But I know for a long time I had no desire to get any kind of license of any kind. But now I'm going to, and I think if anything, at least having a radio that you can listen in on local repeaters and local channels and such, pretty important. And this is not talking about it from a tactical perspective of you needing to, hide your location, so you're using digital encrypted comms. That's not what this video is about. That's not what this discussion on radio is about. This discussion on radio is about you as a non-licensed person listening in and gathering information. And a lot of times that's just as important as being able to transmit. I know with the setup right here, this one right here with this little stubby antenna that came with the radio, I can listen in on every single repeater that is anywhere close to me. That's good. And being able to do that for people that don't want to get a license could save a lot of problems in the event of a natural disaster, even in the event of some sort of civil unrest where people are talking on the radio. Guess what? Bam, you can listen in on them. You can find out where not to go, what to do, whatever. It lets you plan, lets you get ahead of the game if you can. So I highly encourage you to at least get a radio and program the repeaters in your area, especially if you take any of this stuff serious. At least program the repeaters in so that you can listen in and gather information. You ain't got to get a license. You don't have to go through all that jive, because I understand not wanting to do that. But at least get one. And it doesn't have to be a UV5R. It can be whatever kind you want it to be. But at least get one and learn to listen in and learn to gather information. Yesterday was a very good practice run for me to listen in on these guys talking on that net and gathering information. Very good for me. I was able to test this radio. I was able to test several other radios as far as what they were able to listen in on. So even without having a license and being able to transmit, I was still able to test radio. And that's important too. So I might talk, you know, as things progress and I get my license and ham license and on and so forth, I might touch a little more on radio. We'll see. I may not. It depends on what people think. But I'm going to end this video off on that with saying, at least think about getting a $18 UV5R and downloading the free church software and programming repeaters in. It literally takes 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, depending on how many repeaters are in your area. At least do that, and you will be ahead of a good chunk of the population as far as gathering the information. So with that being said, I'm going to end the video off. I'm going to get out the swamp, try to anyway, and I'm going to head out. So take care.